That was the headline flashing across the hollow screens weeks ago. To the galaxy, it was just another sensational story. To Ilara, it was a wound she could not close. For years, she had traveled through the stars in her battered freighter, the Wayfarer's Hope. Everyone called it a wreck. The paint was chipped, the engines rattled, and even the navigation system sometimes coughed before starting. But to her, it was home. And at her side was Kyle, the alien cat who had been with her since the beginning. Small, sleek, with strange, glowing eyes that could see things no sensor could detect. The galaxy laughed at them. Traders smirked when she landed at stations. Captains chuckled when they saw her struggling to buy spare parts. Even her friends, those she thought understood, drifted away over time. One by one, they moved on to bigger ships, better crews, and safer lives. Now, sitting in the dim glow of the cockpit, Ilara felt that distance heavier than ever. She scrolled through old messages from her closest friend, Mara, once her crewmate, once her sister in everything but blood. Mara had left 2 years ago to join a prestigious exploration fleet. At first, the messages came often. Updates, stories, even jokes about how Ilara's wreck probably wouldn't make it another week. Ilara had laughed with her, but the words stung more than she admitted. Then slowly the messages stopped. Ilara leaned back in her chair, staring at the stars outside the viewport. She missed Mara more than she could say. The loneliness was a sharp ache, and though Kale curled against her lap with his soft purring, it wasn't the same. She wanted to reach out, to reconnect. But every time she tried to type a message, her hands froze. What could she even say? "Hi, it's me. I miss you. Do you even remember the adventures we had? Or am I just the friend you left behind?" The silence between them grew heavier each day. The galaxy didn't make things easier. At the Council's latest announcement, a great race through the dead sectors had been declared. Every faction prepared their strongest ships. Ilara wanted to join, but she knew what they would say. The wreck will fall apart before the first. Jump. She tried to laugh at the jokes, but inside she felt hollow. She thought of Mara again, wondering if her old friend would be there among the fleets. Would she look down from her shining cruiser and laugh too? Or worse, would she not recognize Ilara at all? Kale lifted his head suddenly, glowing eyes fixed on her face. He nudged her hand with his nose. "I know," Ilara whispered, stroking his soft fur. "I should let go." She moved on. Everyone moves on. But the words felt like a lie. Humans weren't made to let go so easily. They remembered. They held on. That was their curse and their strength. That night, she dreamed of the old days. She and Mara, side by side, laughing as they flew through asteroid belts, daring each other to race between rocks no sane pilot would cross. Kyle chasing after sparks in the engine room. Mara calling her the reckless Star Witch with a grin. She woke with tears on her face. The loneliness gnawed at her until she finally stood and powered on the comms console. She hovered her fingers over the keys, hesitating. Then, with a shaky breath, she began to record a message. "Hey, Mara, it's been a while. I don't even know if you'll hear this. I wanted to say I miss you. The galaxy feels big without you. Too big sometimes. I still have the wreck. And Kale, of course. He's purring right now. You'd laugh at how fat he's gotten." She paused, biting her lip. Her throat felt tight, but she pushed on. "I don't know if you think of me anymore. Maybe you're too busy saving colonies or mapping new systems. But I think of you. Every day. And if you ever need a friend again, I'm still here. Even if the galaxy laughs at me, I'm still here." She stopped the recording and sat there in silence. Sending it felt terrifying. Not sending it felt worse. With one last breath, she pressed send. Days passed with no reply. Ilara threw herself into preparing for the race, patching up her ship, fine-tuning her engines, and relying on Kale's strange instincts to chart possible routes. The laughter of others still echoed when they saw her enter, but she ignored it now, because in her heart, She knew something true. Humans never gave up. Not on friends. Not on hope. Maybe Mara would never answer. Maybe she would. But Ilara had taken the step. She had reached across the distance. That was what it meant to be human. To keep trying even when the galaxy mocked, even when the silence felt endless. On the day of the race, as she prepared for launch, the comms panel blinked. A message. With trembling hands, she opened it. Ilara. Mara's voice came through, soft but warm. I got your message. I'm sorry for being distant. I thought you didn't need me anymore, but I see now I was wrong. I miss you too. I'll be watching the race. Don't let them laugh at you. Show them what you can do. Show them what we always believed in. Tears blurred Ilara's vision, but she smiled for the first time in a long while. Kyle meowed beside her, as if sharing her joy. She powered up. The engines. She would not be a joke. She would be human. That headline still echoed in Ilara's mind, but now it carried a different weight. It was no longer just about laughter or mockery. It was about proving to herself and to someone she deeply missed that she could rise beyond the doubt. Ilara sat in the cockpit of the Wayfarer's Hope. The comm screen still showed the last message she had received from Mara. I miss you too. Show them what you can do. Those words burned in her heart. For 2 years she had carried silence like a heavy stone. Now with one short message, the stone cracked. But the distance between them was still real. Mara was far away on a grand exploration fleet shining among the stars. Ilara was here, with her battered ship, ready to race through the dead sectors. She wanted to reply, to say more, to ask Mara everything she had held inside for so long. But when she sat at the comm panel, no words came. Instead, she closed the screen and whispered, later. Kyle leapt onto the console, tail swishing. His strange, glowing eyes seemed to study her face, as if urging her to act. I know, Kyle, she said softly, scratching his head. I should say more. But I don't know how, not yet. The day of the race had arrived. Across the galaxy, people tuned in. Ships of every size gathered at the starting gate. Sleek cruisers, war-built dreadnoughts, and nimble fighters. Ilara's patched-up freighter looked small among them, almost laughable. She could hear the chatter over the open comm channels. Look at that wreck. Didn't think it could even fly. Is she serious? That ship won't last a single jump. Hope she brought spare engines to collect when it falls apart. The laughter hurt, but this time she didn't bow her head. She had something. They couldn't see hope and the stubbornness of being human, and Mara's voice still in her heart. Show them what you can do. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The starting beacon flared, and the race began. The dead sectors were no ordinary course. Space here twisted and shifted. Asteroids spun like blades. Gravity wells pulled ships off course. Ancient wrecks floated as silent traps. Many of the galaxy's proud ships had already been lost here in the past. Ilara gripped the controls. Her freighter jolted as the first shockwave hit, but she steadied it with practiced hands. While others pushed forward at reckless speed, she guided her wreck carefully through debris fields. Kale's ears twitched as he sensed shifting dangers, and Ilara trusted his instincts, adjusting her path seconds before sensors picked them up. Good eyes, Kale, she whispered. One by one, she watched as larger, stronger ships fell behind. Some tried to ram through obstacles with brute force, only to end up stuck or broken. Others ignored the warnings, and their engines tore, apart in unstable space. Ilara's ship, mocked and underestimated, slipped through quietly. But distance was not only in space. It lived in her heart. Between obstacles, she thought of Mara. The memory of her laugh, the warmth of her presence. She longed to send another message, to say something more, but she didn't know how. What if Mara was only being polite? What if she didn't truly care anymore? The fear of rejection was heavier than any asteroid. Yet humans had always carried heavy weights. They had faced loss, loneliness, and silence across their history. And still, they moved forward. Alara tightened her grip on the controls. If I can survive this race, I can survive that distance too. And maybe, one day, I can close it. Halfway through the course, disaster struck. A shifting wormhole opened suddenly ahead, pulling in several ships. Pilots panicked, shouting across the comms as their vessels spun toward destruction. Alara's sensors screamed. She could avoid it if she pushed her engines. But 2 ships were trapped, unable to escape. For a second, she hesitated. This was a race. Winning mattered. Helping them could cost her everything. Then she remembered. Humans never leave others behind. Hold on, she said. Not to them, but to herself. She rerouted power, diving dangerously close to the wormhole's edge. Kale let out a sharp cry as the freighter shook under the strain. With precision and stubborn will, Alara fired her grappling harpoons into the drifting ships, pulling them away from the collapsing edge. The strain nearly tore her freighter apart. The hull groaned, alarms blared, and sparks flew. But slowly, painfully, she pulled them free. When they were safe, her ship drifted, engines flickering. The comms filled with stunned silence. Then a voice. The wreck. It saved us. The rescue cost her precious time. Other ships had pushed far ahead. But Alara didn't regret it. She sat back, breathing hard as Kale climbed. The words were once a joke to Alara. Now flying deeper into the dead sectors, she began to believe they might become truth. Her patched-up freighter rattled as it entered the 3rd sector of the race. The stars here were hidden by thick red clouds of ionized dust. Lightning storms flashed across the darkness, frying sensors and making navigation nearly impossible. Kyle, her alien cat, sat on the console with his glowing eyes half closed, ears twitching every time the storm shifted. His senses picked up things no machine could. Alara trusted him more than any chart. All right, Kale, she whispered. It's just us now. The race had already cost her much. Saving 2 stranded ships from the wormhole had left her behind the leaders. Her engine still sputtered from the strain. Many competitors doubted she could catch up, and deep inside, Alara doubted herself too. But the message from Mara kept replaying in her mind. That's the friend I remember, the one who never gave up on anyone. I wish I could be there with you right now. Alara clung to those words like a lifeline. It had been so long since Mara spoke to her with that warmth. The distance between them was still vast, not just space, but years of silence. Alara wanted to bridge it, but every time she thought of sending another message, fear froze her. What if Mara was only encouraging her out of kindness? What if their bond was gone for good? The sadness pressed on her chest like a weight. The storm grew worse. Ships ahead fired flares, trying to light paths, but the storms bent them into chaos. Over the comm channels, panic spread. Engines down. Shields failing. Mayday, mayday! One ship vanished in a crack of lightning. Another spun out of control, disappearing into the red fog. Alara's freighter shook violently, but she held the controls steady. Every instinct told her to turn back, to give up, but humans had never been known for giving up. Forward, she whispered. Always forward. Kale yowled suddenly, leaping toward the navigation screen, his paw pressed against one side. Alara adjusted course instantly, trusting him. A bolt of plasma lightning struck where she had been a second before. You're full of surprises, she told him, voice shaking. Hours passed like this. Storms, chaos, and silence in her heart. Finally, the clouds broke open. She emerged. Into clear space again, stars glittering bright. Her freighter creaked, but it was alive. She checked her position. Her eyes widened. She was not last. Somehow, through caution, instinct, and Kale's guidance, she had passed nearly half the competitors. For the first time in a long while, she smiled. Yet the smile faded as she thought again of Mara. Her old friend would see her progress on the MAME live feeds. Would she be proud, or would she laugh as so many once did? Alara didn't know. The silence between them still hurt. but she wanted to try again. She opened the comm panel, hesitated, then recorded a short message. Mara, I don't know what to say. I thought of you the whole way through the storm. Do you remember when we flew through the asteroid belt near Vega and you kept daring me to go faster? It felt like that again. I miss that. I miss us. She stopped, heart pounding, and pressed send. The reply didn't come right away. She focused on repairing her engines, patching wires, tightening bolts, with Kale pawing at tools, as if helping. The work kept her from sinking too deep into sadness. But hours later, just before entering the next sector, her comm light blinked. Ilara. Mara's voice came again, soft and trembling. I remember Vega. I remember everything. I thought maybe you forgot me. That's why I stopped sending messages. It hurt too much to think I was holding on to a friend who moved on. But hearing from you now, it's like nothing changed. I'm glad you didn't forget. Ilara pressed her forehead against the console, tears running down her cheeks. The silence that haunted her for 2 years cracked open with those words. Kale pressed his warm body against her arm, purring as if to say, See? You were never alone. But the race was far from over. Ahead lay the next trial, a maze of ancient wrecks, drifting in eternal darkness. Pirates once hid here, and many never came out. As she approached, comm channels buzzed with rumors. Some claimed ghost ships haunted the wrecks. Others warned of mines left behind from forgotten wars. Strong fleets slowed, unwilling to risk the path. Ilara, however, did not stop. For her, wrecks were not fearsome. Wrecks were home. Her own ship was one. She knew how to move among them. She guided her freighter into the maze, weaving between broken hulls and shattered engines. Her hands steady, her heart strong, and though the galaxy still mocked, though the distance between her and Mara was not yet healed, Ilara knew this. She was human. She would not give up. On the other side of the wreck maze, she emerged once more. Ahead of dozens of ships, the comm channels buzzed with disbelief. The wreck made it through? Impossible. How? Ilara smiled through tears. She didn't answer them. She whispered instead to Kale, We're not finished yet. Not by a long shot. The distance between her and Mara was still there, but it was smaller now. The silence was broken, and with each step forward, hope grew stronger. Ilara's freighter creaked as it left the maze of wrecks. Sparks still flickered from her patched wiring, and the engines hummed like tired beasts. Kyle, her alien cat, stretched lazily on the dashboard, his glowing eyes half shut as though the chaos of the race was just another nap. But Ilara felt the weight of silence again. She had sent Mara another message, and Mara had answered with warmth. Yet Ilara didn't know what to say next. The words in her heart, I miss you, I need you, I still care about you, stayed trapped in her throat. She wanted to reconnect, but the fear of saying too much held her back. What if Mara didn't feel the same? What if their bond was only a memory? As she drifted into the next sector, her sadness pressed heavier than the void around her. The fourth sector was infamous, a battlefield turned into a trap. Here, alien, warlords had scattered drones, mines, and decoys to sabotage competitors. Only the strongest ships were expected to survive. Ilara's comms filled with mocking voices again. The wreck won't last a second here. Better say goodbye to your cat, human. Hope your ship makes a pretty explosion. She ignored them. Humans had always faced laughter, and still, they had risen. But deep inside, she whispered to herself, Mara, if you're watching, please believe in me. The traps came fast. Drones zipped through the darkness, targeting her freighter. Mines drifted like hidden stars waiting to explode. Larger ships fired at her, hoping to knock the joke out of the race. Ilara's hands moved with quick precision, guiding her wreck through fire. She didn't fight with brute strength. She couldn't. Instead, she outsmarted them. She tricked a pursuing drone into colliding with a mine by cutting her engines at the last second. She slipped behind a cruiser, using its shields as cover, then darted away before it noticed. She sent false signals from her old navigation beacon, luring attackers into dead ends. Every trick was small. But small things built victories. Kale's glowing eyes flicked to the side, and Alara swerved just in time to avoid a hidden missile. She laughed breathlessly. "We're a team, Kale. Always." But even as she fought forward, the sadness lingered. Between maneuvers, she kept glancing at the comm screen. Would Mara send another message? Would she say more? The silence gnawed at her heart. Finally, when the battlefield quieted for a moment, Alara whispered aloud, as though Mara could hear. "I don't know how to say it. I'm scared, but I miss you. I miss you so much." Kyle pressed his head against her arm, purring softly. Suddenly, her ship shuddered. A massive battleship loomed ahead, blocking the path. It belonged to the Varn, a proud alien species that hated humans. The captain's voice crackled over the comms. "Human, this is the end of your joke. Step aside or be destroyed." Alara's heart raced. She had no weapons to fight a battleship. Her freighter was nothing compared to its armor and cannons. But humans had never survived by strength alone. They survived by wit, by courage, by refusing to give up. She looked at Kyle. His eyes glowed, fixed on the debris around them. An idea sparked. "Fine," Alara said, steadying her voice. "Destroy me, if you can." She cut her engines and drifted toward a dense cluster of floating wreckage. The battleship followed, preparing to fire. At the last moment, Alara flicked, her controls weaving between wrecks in patterns only a small, nimble ship could follow. The battleship, too large, too proud, struck the wreckage. Its shield sparked as debris slammed into it. Alara darted through a narrow gap while the battleship became tangled, stuck in the wrecks it had mocked her for entering. The comm channels erupted. The wreck escaped? She outmaneuvered a battleship. "Impossible!" Alara's hands shook as she regained her path. Kyle meowed triumphantly. She leaned back, breathless, whispering, "Humans don't fight like giants. We outsmart them." Hours later, as she drifted in safer space, her comm light blinked. Her heart jumped. She opened it. Mara's face appeared, her smile faint but real. "Alara, I saw what you did. Outsmarting a battleship with that wreck of yours. That's the Alara I remember. Reckless, clever, unstoppable. She hesitated, her eyes soft. "I never stopped missing you either." Alara froze. The sadness in her chest cracked open. The distance between them felt smaller than ever. She wanted to say everything, but still the words caught in her throat. "Thank you," she whispered to the screen. "Thank you for not forgetting." The race wasn't over. More dangers lay ahead. But Alara felt stronger now, not just because of her ship or Kale. The galaxy no longer laughed as loudly, but the race was far from over. And for Alara, the greatest battle was not against the stars, but against her own heart. The fifth sector was known as the Grave of Suns. Long ago, unstable stars had collapsed, here leaving behind fragments of burning worlds, black holes, and twisted radiation storms. Even the bravest pilots feared to enter. Alara guided her wreck into the glowing chaos. The ship rattled with every surge of energy. Kyle crouched low, tail lashing, his glowing eyes fixed on invisible threats. Over the comms, Alara heard other ships screaming as engines failed. Some turned back. Others disappeared into the storms forever. Her heart pounded. She wasn't the fastest, she wasn't the strongest, but she was human. And humans had always survived by enduring the impossible. Still inside her, another storm raged. Mara's last words replayed in her mind. "I never stopped missing you either." Alara had waited 2 years to hear that. Yet now, with the truth in front of her, she didn't know how to answer. She wanted to tell Mara everything. How she thought of her every day, how the silence hurt, how Kale sometimes curled against her when she cried. But the words never came. The sadness of distance pressed down again. Was it too late to rebuild what they once had? Could friendship survive years of silence? She whispered to herself, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to reach you. Kale pressed against her side, purring softly as if telling her, hope is enough. Keep trying. The grave of suns grew worse. Radiation flares burst around her. Asteroids burned like falling embers. Alarms screamed in her cockpit. Ahead, a fleet of alien ships fought desperately to escape the pull of a collapsing star. There, engines flared, but one by one they began to fail. Alara could have turned aside, taken a safer route. Winning the race meant speed, not saving others. But when she saw the struggling ships, something inside her refused to let go. Humans did not walk away. She tightened her grip on the controls. Hold on, Kale. We're going in. Her freighter shook violently as she dove toward the collapsing star. Flames licked at her shields. Warnings flashed across every screen. She spotted a smaller ship trapped in the pull, its crew shouting for help. Without hesitation, she fired her grappling lines. Locking onto its hull, engines roaring, she pulled with everything the wreck had left. Metal screamed. Her ship nearly broke apart. Kyle cried out, his claws gripping the seat. But slowly, painfully, she dragged the ship free. One after another, she helped others escape the collapse. Each rescue cost her time, energy, and parts of her failing freighter. By the end, her ship's hull was cracked, her engines glowing red with strain. But lives were saved. And that mattered more than winning. Silence filled the comm channels. Then slowly, voices began to speak. The wreck saved us. She risked everything for strangers. No warlord, no council would do that, only a human would. Alara sagged back in her chair, exhausted, tears streaking her face. Kale purred loudly, curling against her. She whispered, That's who we are, that's what it means to be human. Hours later, her comm light blinked. A message. Her heart jumped. It was Mara. Ilara. I saw everything. You risked your life. Out there. You always did. That's why I stayed by your side so long. You never cared about the odds. You cared about people. That's what makes you, you. Mara's voice trembled. I wish I had stayed. I wish I hadn't left you. I thought I needed to be somewhere greater, but I realize now, the greatest place was beside you. Ilara covered her mouth with her hand, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. She had dreamed of these words, but hearing them made her cry harder than she expected. She wanted to answer, but her voice cracked. Mara, She stopped, choking on the words. She couldn't say it yet, not fully, but her heart burned with hope. The grave of suns faded behind her. Ahead lay the 6th sector, the final stages of the race. Alara's freighter was damaged, her energy low, her spirit stretched thin, but she was not alone. She had Kale at her side. She had Mara's voice reaching across the stars, and she had something greater, the unbreakable hope of being human. She whispered to the stars, We'll make it. We'll show them all. And maybe I'll find the courage to tell her how much she means to me. The galaxy could laugh, could mock, could doubt. It didn't matter, because Ilara had already proven the truth. Humans never gave up. Ilara's freighter trembled as it entered the 6th sector. Ahead lay the final stretch of the race, a shifting maze of unstable wormholes and magnetic storms. Many pilots had tried before. Few had succeeded. Kyle's glowing eyes scanned every movement around them. He hissed softly at the first hint of turbulence. Ilara's hands tightened on the controls. This was no longer just a race. This was a test of skill, courage, and hope. Her mind drifted for a moment to Mara. It had been 2 years since she left, and every day since then had been filled with longing. She had sent messages before, and Mara had replied, but the distance between them remained. Ilara wanted to reach out again, to reconnect fully. But she didn't know how. She whispered, softly, "I'm still here, Mara. I haven't given up on us." I hope you haven't either," Kyle purred, as if understanding her. The maze of wormholes twisted unpredictably. Ships ahead tried to charge through at full speed. Massive cruisers disappeared instantly, swallowed by gravity wells or colliding with debris. Smaller ships were ripped apart by magnetic storms. Alara's wreck was slow compared to the giants, but she had something no one else had: human ingenuity. She studied the wormhole patterns, predicting their shifts. Kyle's instincts guided her through dangerous paths invisible to sensors. Step by step, she moved through the maze, dodging destruction at every turn. Suddenly, a massive alien cruiser blocked the path ahead, its weapons locked on her. A commanding voice barked over the comms, "Human, your journey ends here. Step aside or perish." Ilara's chest tightened. She couldn't outrun it with speed, couldn't fight it with firepower. But she remembered Mara's words from earlier messages. "You care about people. That's your greatest strength." Humans never relied on brute force alone. They survived, through cleverness and courage. Ilara scanned the debris around them, then grinned. "Kale, time for the final gambit." She cut the engines, drifting toward a narrow cluster of old wrecks. The cruiser followed, firing lazily, overconfident. Ilara twisted her ship at the last second, disappearing behind a pile of metal. The alien cruiser was too large to follow. Its weapons misfired, colliding with floating wrecks. Sparks flew. The path ahead cleared. Ilara's freighter slipped through, narrowly avoiding destruction. The galaxy watched in awe. Over comm channels, alien voices muttered, She outsmarted them. The wreck, impossible. A human, truly cunning." Ilara exhaled, leaning back, Kale nuzzling her arm. Humans never give up, Kale. Never. Even as relief washed over her, sadness returned. She had fought, survived, and proved herself. But Mara was still far away. She wanted to tell her, to share this victory, but words failed. Finally, she recorded a short message. "Mara, the final stretch is madness, but we made it. I've survived storms, battles, and giants. Kyle and we're still flying. I hope you're proud. I hope this shows that distance can't change what we feel. That humans never give up. That I never gave up on you." She hesitated, hand hovering over the send button. Then she pressed it. Moments later, Mara's face appeared on the comm screen. Her eyes glistened, and a soft smile spread across her face. "Ilara, you're incredible. I watched everything. You risked your ship, your life, all to survive, to help, to be human. Mara paused, swallowing hard. "I never stopped thinking about you. I never stopped hoping you'd reach me." Ilara felt tears stream down her cheeks. The distance, the years, the silence. All of it felt smaller now. Mara's words were more than a message. They were a bridge across the stars. I didn't know if you cared anymore," Ilara whispered. "I was scared I had lost you." "You could never lose me," Mara replied, voice trembling. "Distance doesn't matter. You showed me and everyone else what humans are. Courage, hope, intelligence. You are unstoppable." Kale purred loudly, rubbing against Ilara's arm as if celebrating. The final wormhole stretched ahead. The last obstacle. Many ships tried and failed to predict its movement. The magnetic currents twisted violently, bending space itself. But Ilara didn't panic. She studied the currents, remembering every lesson from the past sectors. She whispered, "For Mara, for all humans, for hope." With Kale guiding her, she threaded the wreck through the wormhole's heart, dodging every twist and jolt. The freighter groaned, sparks flying, but they emerged safely on the other side. No one could believe it. The galaxy erupted in astonishment. Human, she survived the final gambit. The wreck made it through the impossible. Ilara leaned back, exhausted, and finally allowed herself a small smile. Her comm blinked again. Mara's voice came through, full of awe and pride. Ilara, you've done it. You've shown the galaxy, and me, the truth. Humans are remarkable. You are remarkable. I'm so proud of you. Ilara pressed her forehead against the console, whispering, I'm proud of us. We never gave up. The galaxy could no longer mock her. The wreck had survived impossible trials. Kyle had guided her with instincts no machine could match, and the distance between her and Mara had begun to close, not with speed, but with courage, honesty, and hope.